Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
The so-called Calais jungle could be demolished as early as next week, and its 9,000 occupants will certainly be relocated, the French government has promised, by the end of the year. There are hundreds of unaccompanied and vulnerable children there, and charities warn that many will simply go missing when it closes, potentially into the hands of traffickers. They're calling on the British government to take in those children and teenagers who have family ties in the UK. The Home Secretary has vowed to speed up resettlement plans, but is it enough? Lily Allen has been to the camp to see for herself what life is like there. We'll speak to her in a moment. First, here's a reminder of what she saw, a short extract of our exclusive film.
Calais' makeshift refugee camp, the jungle, home to around 10,000 people, including children. The French government wants this place gone and will start knocking it down within weeks. Today, singer Lily Allen is in the camp to meet for herself the children and teenagers calling this place home.
There are 1,022 unaccompanied children at massive risk of trafficking or just getting lost in the system. A huge proportion of them have got the right to be in the UK because they have family there, and another huge proportion of them have the right to be in the UK because of the passing of the Dubs Amendment in May.
At this youth centre, volunteers are trying to record the details of anyone with the right to be in the UK before demolition. Lily meets 13-year-old Shamsher from Afghanistan. He says his father's in Birmingham. He's been in the camp for 2 months now.
Why did you leave Afghanistan? I know you're trying to get onto the lorries every night, but from what I'm hearing from the refugee volunteers here in the camp is that you have got a legal right to be in the UK. So I wonder, have you started that process? Have you filled out the forms? Just seems that 3 different intervals in this young boy's life, the English in particular, have put you in danger. We've, bombed your country, put you in the hands of the Taliban, and now putting you at risk, risking your life to get into our country. That seems... I apologise on behalf of my country. I'm sorry for what we put you through. Sorry. It's just desperate, isn't it? It's desperate. It's a geographical lottery. Wherever you're born in the world. I know that I wouldn't like to end up here, though. I certainly wouldn't want my children to end up here.
And if you want to watch again or share the film, you can. You can find it on our programme page, bbc.co.uk/Victoria, and you can read about Lily Allen's experience in the jungle on the BBC News site. Some comments. Dave texts this: when Lily Allen cried on your programme, I cried too. Why isn't everybody? Claire on Facebook: I'm glad someone said something. All over Europe, children are in camps. How can we let this happen? Someone who doesn't leave their name on email: very grateful for this from Lily Allen. It looks like the Home Office is finally starting to respond, but perhaps it's too little too late. Amber Rudd is now talking of concentrating efforts on children under 12. So what will happen to all the older children, highly vulnerable to people traffickers? Do we not have a responsibility to all children? Why is there suddenly an age cut-off when it comes to Calais? Well, Lily Allen is here, as is her friend Josie Norton from the charity Help Refugees. Morning. Thanks for coming on the programme. Tell us why you wanted to see for yourself what was going on in the refugee camp.
I suppose just because, I read a lot about it in the newspapers or in the press. It kind of seems to be reported in a very one-dimensional way, and so I wanted to see it for myself, really.
And for you, Josie, obviously you've been there a number of times. How have things changed, if they have at all, over the last, say, 6 months?
Over the last 6 months, there's been a lot of new arrivals because it's summertime, but essentially the camp is it's not a place that people should be living or people want to be living. And I think at the moment there's a real sense of desperation because there's 1,022 unaccompanied children living there, and at the moment there's no plan in place for how those children are going to be brought to safety before the demolition of the camp.
What did you think you would find there, Lily, and how did the reality compare?
It was a lot bigger than I thought. I mean, the numbers have been, I've sort of read like 3,000, 5,000, and it's more like 10,000 really, isn't it? So the sheer scale of it is what sort of hit me, I think.
As I mentioned, Home Secretary Amber Rudd saying that unaccompanied children to the UK, we've accepted 80 so far. She wants a list, she wants names of unaccompanied children living there who are eligible to be brought to Britain. Is that enough from your point of view?
I'm going to hand you over to Josie here.
So people have been aware of the children living there for well over a year now. There have been names submitted to the Home Office way back as far as July and even earlier. There are children that have a legal right to come to the UK because they have family here, but there are also children that have a right to come here because of the Alf Dubs Amendment, which was passed in May, that said that unaccompanied refugee children should be given sanctuary here. Some of these children are as young as 8 and they are so vulnerable, and the time is really of the essence. They need to be protected as soon as possible.
So you're talking about speed then, are you, rather than numbers?
Speed and numbers.
Right.
Every life is precious, so every single child needs to be given protection, be that in France or here.
Well, that's a good point, whether it's France or here, because you will know, that people say if people have arrived in France, that's where they should claim asylum. Why do they, what is the big attraction with the UK? What do you say to that?
Well, I mean, this situation is happening all across Europe. We were, I think, 5th largest economy in the world last week. Maybe we're 6th or 7th now, but I think people think that these people might assume that we can afford it, whether that's correct or not. I imagine that's probably why they're coming here. I mean, Greece has got 60,000 and their economy is
on the floor.
Yeah,
on the floor.
And a lot of these people have got family here, and if you'd lost everything you had, your home, lots of your family had maybe lost their lives in war, and you had one family member remaining in the UK or somewhere else, you would probably go and find that family member
also,
to reach safety.
It's kind of the end of the line, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And I suppose if you arrive in Europe and you're being treated so horribly by everybody on your way through, you're working towards this sort of dream, like it can't be this awful. People can't be like this. I haven't done anything wrong. I'm a child. I'm just escaping a war that has nothing to do with me. So I think it's, possibly, it's a bit of a fantasy.
Yeah, a lot of those children have been in that camp for a year, living in conditions that are so below standard, and they've been in France and no one's come to take them out of that situation. So we all as human beings have a responsibility to make them safe.
You will know that one of the criticisms of people like yourself is that, look, we've got enough kids here that need help. We can't afford to help unaccompanied kids, though they may be from all over Europe and further afield.
I would just say that if you're going to spend hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds on getting involved in conflicts in these areas, there has to be some kind of contingency fund for the fallout. And these children have been displaced, had to run away from what they know. We have to take the responsibility.
You may have been asked, I'm not sure, Lily, would you take an unaccompanied child into your own home? Is that
100%.
something you've considered?
100%.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't?
If there were children outside our front door on their own and they were as young as 8, I don't think there are many people that wouldn't say, come inside. I really, really don't. So it just because they're across the channel doesn't mean that they still don't deserve protection.
Yeah. By using your celebrity, the fact that you're a high-profile person, you can bring continued awareness to this, because as you say, some of these kids have been here a year, and every few months there might be something in the news about them, but you bring renewed interest to an issue like this, which you also get criticised for. What do you think of that criticism? How do you deal with that?
I might sort of just have to switch off from it, to be honest. I think that we live in very interesting times. The media is very powerful. I don't know, I mean, I guess, 20, 30 years ago, you couldn't really be involved in music without having something to stand for, whereas now we live in a time where you're not really allowed to stand for anything.
Yeah,
but I see it as my responsibility. I can't really switch off and turn a blind eye to it.
Do you feel some kind of censorship that you're not supposed to be allowed to stand up for a cause?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because of what? The kind of oppression that you might get online or whatever?
Yes, and the reaction in some of the mainstream media as well. There are sort of think pieces that I'm sure will come out as a result of doing this today, which will be very negative. But I just have to take that as I come. I have to stand up for what I believe in. Otherwise, there's not really any point.
Yeah, I'm picking up here. You don't like the mainstream media.
Oh no, I think I do like some aspects of it. It's not all negative from my side, but I do think that there is a narrative and a rhetoric that's being pushed at the moment that I don't really enjoy.
Meaning?
I don't really want to expand. I don't want to go to war with the press. Yeah.
Okay. This texter says, the people in the Calais jungle are in a safe country. Why does everyone call for the British government to do something? The French government is responsible for them and seems to be doing nothing. It's about time the French looked after these people. Todd on Twitter, Lily needs to visit charities here and see firsthand how stretched we are in coping with children and families here needing help. Michael emails, anyone knows that the Calais migrant camp should not exist. Everyone there should be resident in the first safe country they landed in. They crossed a dozen safe countries to get to France. Supercilious celebrities like Lily Allen, Bob Geldof, etc. If they feel so strongly about it, why haven't they held to their promises and taken a migrant, a refugee, into their home?
Well, because they're not being allowed into the country, so...
Are you saying you would do if they are allowed in, when they are allowed in?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'd have to go through the sort of bureaucratic side of it. I'm not going to do it illegally, but yeah, I mean, if there is these children are being displaced, of course, there's room for people in my house. I'm going to take them in. I think anyone would. Yeah. Like, if you're a parent, like the idea of my children wandering around aimlessly without anywhere to go.
Or you can't really. Your brain won't let you go there in a way when you think about it.
Well, I think we have to let it go there because it is a real situation. Yeah. It's happening. It's happening closer to us than Glasgow. Yeah.
And I think there's a point as well, like Amber Rudd said in Parliament, that we've spent £100 million on the situation in Calais, but yet children are still living like this. So we need to be making sure that if we're going to be spending the taxpayers' money, that children are protected.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
I've been getting